Hi guys, my name is Ted Bass and I have an Asperger syndrome. This is my first video on the Asperger's coaching channel. The intention of this channel is to help all those people who live with people with Asperger syndrome, um, especially the parents who have kids with Asperger syndrome, all the people who have an Asperger syndrome, and all who are interested in Asperger syndrome, and of course, nerds. I'm also a nerd and I'm proud of it. So, my fellow nerds, this is interesting for you too, I believe so. And in my first video, I will be introducing myself. I will say something about this, about me, about this, how I found out that I have Asperger syndrome, and so on. I have a master's degree in political science, but I do other things for living which are not directly connected with this. I actually use my superpowers, which I have because I have an Asperger syndrome, and I make money out of these superpowers. Yes, I call superpowers some features which I have just because I have an Asperger syndrome. The thing is that people are usually born with some potential. And I believe that this potential is pretty much equal in all the people. But, some people are better in this thing and some people are better in other thing. And the thing is that we who have Asperger syndrome have some deficiencies, but we also have some sufficiencies, some advantages to other people, to neurotypical people. And I use these advantages to make money. What I do is also proofreading. I read some scientific texts and correct the language and so on. And 2 years ago, when I was 48 years old, I ran into a text about Asperger syndrome. And at that point, I didn't know that I have an Asperger syndrome. And when I was reading this text, when I was correcting the language in it, I suddenly realized I probably have an Asperger syndrome. After that, I was studying literature, on the internet, scientific literature, and at the end, I was sure that I have an Asperger syndrome. But I didn't make a lot of fuss about this, I have it, whatever, I wasn't paying very much attention. But then I realized that my kid, who is 10 years old, also has some features about Asperger syndrome. And when I was explaining this to my friend, who is a psychotherapist, she said that it would be very, very good because he's 10 years old and he still goes to school, in the elementary school, that it would be very good to have him tested so that experts realize that he has an Asperger syndrome, so that in his school, experts could help him, make his life easier, actually. And so we went to the expert, and just in case, we tested also my older son, who is 17 years old, and guess what? We all three were officially diagnosed as people with Asperger syndrome. Asperger syndrome is kind of autism, but there are differences in autism because some are very highly functional people, and we all three are very highly functional autists. And usually, if there is a mild version of Asperger syndrome, a person can live his or her entire life and nobody notices that, that he has autism. That's quite normal. And that's why it was possible for me that I was living 48 years and nobody noticed that I have Asperger syndrome. So when I realized that my diagnosis, even before I was tested, I tried to analyze. I was analyzing my whole life from the moment I remember about myself, and it was very good to do that because I understood a lot of things about myself, about my life, about my communication with other people. Because I always realized that I was kind of different to my surroundings, to other people. I saw that in some features I was deficient, but in some features I was really, really sufficient. And I thought that this is just by chance, perhaps my character, my upbringing, and so on. But later I realized that in fact it was because I was an Aspie. We who have Asperger's usually call ourselves Aspie. And when I realized that, it was really, really good for me because I could understand my life from the other perspective. I before I didn't know why things were as they were, and then I understood everything. It was like some kind of revelation. And of course, now when I know this, there are much less misunderstandings when I enter into communication with other people, because I understand in what I am different from them. And I can adapt even more easily, even though I had to adapt in past when I didn't know that I have Asperger's. And if people who I communicate with know about Asperger syndrome and I explain that to them, then they can adapt their communication too, and it's much more easier even for them, not just for me. Even my wife. I've been married since the year 2000, and my wife found very difficult to understand some perspective of my personality. Now, when we both know that I'm an Aspie, it's easier for us because we can understand each other even better now. So, I was mentioning superpowers before. In my next video, I will be explaining what superpowers in people with Asperger's are. That means superpowers in autistic people who are highly functional. These are kind of sufficiencies, and I will explain why they are so important and why it is important to know what are your superpowers if you have Asperger's or if you are a parent of a child with Asperger's. Don't forget to leave your comments, to leave your questions, problems you wish to speak about, because I will discuss it if you leave that below in the comment section. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will see also the next videos because they'll be interesting. And I hope it helps what I do. And please also hit the subscribe button down in the below section. And this is it for today. Have a nice day and bye-bye.